Right now, Boston's 45-20, and the Bucks are 46-18. I think the Bucks are cruising toward it, but it's not inconceivable. It could be 1-4, 1-5, Knicks Celtics in round 2. Look, the Brooklyn game was disgusting. I think I don't know if he's a bad coach, Joe Mazzulla. I just know that he's learning on the job as this goes along, and I don't want to coach for a team that has a chance to win the title, that is still favored to win the title, who's learning on the job. And you saw it today. Stuck with the same lineup way too long. Just Williams, Smart, Horford, Tatum, and Brown. He just wasn't going to waver. Quickly was doing whatever he wanted. They were running the same play over and over again. Derek White, who's the third best player on the team all season, just doesn't play in crunch time. Just come to accept it. He's not going to play in the last 5 minutes of these games. But the timeout stuff, which on the one hand is like a total sports radio guy calling into Eddie Andelman in 1979. I don't understand why we're not calling timeouts. On the other hand, it's been really damaging. There's been multiple games this year where the no timeout thing has really hurt them, including today, where they had the ball at 22 seconds left. They should have called a timeout. They should have put one more shooter out there instead of Grant, who hasn't made a 3 in about 6 weeks. And instead, they just kind of run it along. 14 seconds pass. Nobody knows the play. They have to call timeout with 8 seconds left. Knicks have a foul to give. Now we're down to 6 seconds, and you end up with the rush Horford 3. But it's just little stuff. And if it's 2-7 Celtics Miami, Russillo, I just think Spoelstra is going to look at this like, I can outcoach this guy and we can win this series, even though we don't have a better team. We can outthink these guys and out-strategize them, and we can win games in the last 2 minutes. And I feel like it's headed for 2-7 because unless Atlanta folds and doesn't win that division. Miami's going to be either 6 or 7, it looks like. Celtics would beat any 7 or 8 team other than Miami, and I think the Miami thing would be a dogfight. But I just can't believe we're watching the starting back from the Udoka thing early on in, what was that, August? To, this Joe, no, he knows what he's doing. He's going to learn. And now it's March, and I don't feel any better about him than I did 4 months ago.
Okay, a lot of stuff there. Let me start with timeouts. Most of us do not know what's going on to the level that these guys do. Almost all of us that talk about this for a living. It's actually one of the weirdest dynamics of all of what we do is the terminology. Hey, actually, the help was supposed to be here. Actually, this was supposed to happen. But we know about timeouts, right? And so when something doesn't happen and then you have failure, everybody jumps on timeouts because it's the only fucking thing people are comfortable talking about. All right. And it's like, well, this guy didn't call a timeout and I feel better about myself. And we are far more likely to criticize anyone than compliment all the other things that happen and go right the entire time. But when it's this definitive thing of like, ooh, a timeout wasn't called. Okay, this didn't work. All right, now I have a 4-hour radio show and I'm going to talk about timeouts the whole time. That play, and thank God for JJ Redick. I love what he's doing on some of these broadcasts. He called it out. I mean, anybody that's ever watched any basketball knows what the horn set is. It's 2 in the corners, it's 2 at the elbows, and the ball handler has an option of going left or right, and then you can cut off of that on the backside or somebody pops, and Jalen's the only one getting the ball probably off of that action. Grant didn't know that it was horns. That's Grant Williams' fault, okay? Horford, once Tatum was waving him, okay, and then Horford's like looking at him going, dude, what are you doing? I'm also sensing an annoyance with teammates with Grant anyway, which I don't think is any breaking news here because there was a switch that got messed up. Dude, in the Nets game, it was 34 seconds left. The game was over, and Grant's screaming for a challenge. So the
finger wave for every challenge. He just loves challenges.
Josh Hart made fun of him. Like, he pushed Hart. Like, some of the rebound fouls are really tough, but I think it evens out over the course of the game. And there was the foul where Hart got it, and then Hart actually made a Grant Williams face and was like making fun of him with his arms out. So there's 2 things. Maybe you're right. I don't know that Spo's better than everybody. You really think that Miami team is going to win 4 out of 7 with that offense against Boston?
I don't know. You were there in person on Friday night watching the Celtics just fold for an hour.
I'm more on play. Look, when it comes to basketball, I'm way more on the players being the reason you win and lose than I am the coaches. And I don't think you like any coaches. When's the last Boston Celtics coach you thought was good? Casey Jones?
I thought Ime was good last year. I liked him.
You didn't for a while. You didn't for a while.
I did for a couple months, and then I talked myself into him. So I would go the other way on the no timeout thing, at least on the Grant play. You call timeout, it allows you to take Grant out of the game. He can't make threes anymore. Why is he out there? I mean, I think know how many minutes he played tonight. 40 minutes.
Okay, but if we're getting in a lineup thing, and I agree, like Derek White's been incredible. You can't sit Smart, even though Smart couldn't make anything until he hit actually, two
Wait a
big
second.
threes.
Just stop what you said there. You can't sit Smart. Why? Derek White's better than Smart this season.
I just don't think you're going to do that to a team. I think there's like team chemistry, emotional stuff. I think that would be a really tough move to pull to a team that did what they did last year. And Smart, I think, having probably the best season I've ever had. Just the way he played, controlled the game, wasn't trying to do too much. Like a subdued Smart offensively is what we all want. I actually thought he did a lot of really nice things tonight.
Do you think physically he looks 100% to you?
No, I don't. I think the numbers are meh. And I think there's other times where the numbers probably look better than he's actually played, but I thought he busted his ass tonight defensively. One of my favorite plays is that play where he forced a turnover and it was a scrum along the sideline where actually just thought it was off the Knicks player and quickly wanted a review and his back was to it. That was my favorite demand to review. Quickly didn't even see what happened behind him. But the other thing is with Mitchell and Randall, I don't think they could afford to take Grant out and have Horford be your only size. I don't think you were going to get any rebounds with no Rob. That's just me. I don't know.
I would have gone smaller personally.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe you're right.
I didn't like Grant in that game, and I thought over and over again their goal was just to get quickly switched on him because he was going by him every time. And if that's happening quickly at the game of his life today, at some point you got to change it up and try different things. I just really worry about teams that just over and over again the same thing happens, right? Like we'll talk about the Warriors later. The Warriors are in a different situation where they just fall behind a lot. And at some point, you kind of are who you are. If just over and over again, you're scrapping from we're down. Like what are the Warriors of the road now? 7-24. Like that's not a sample size anymore. They suck on the road for whatever reason. And the Celtics over and over again have this tendency. They did it today in this Knicks game. They have a lead and then just blow it like in 2 minutes. And I don't know that the one thing with White that I think he does for them, at least offensively, is he pushes the pace and he can get to the basket. And I don't think Smart gets to the basket in the same way. Now, they posted up Smart a couple times in the game today against because Quickly is like 150 pounds. And when they did that, the Knicks were like, oh shit, they're not going to keep doing that, are they? That like that. And then of course we stopped doing that again so we could get to Brown or Tatum just jacking up shots.
Brown was awesome. Brown was awesome tonight. All right. I love Jaylen Brown tonight. Tatum's final numbers are good, but the shooting line
Tatum
was
bad the second half. Yeah, Brown finished 12 for 25. Tatum was 12 for 30. And both of them played high 40s in the minutes.
The Josh Hart thing is real, though. If you're a Knicks fan and you're watching that, and like Tatum had a really hard time with him. And then there was two plays in particular where they ran a switch when they finally got to switch, then they didn't get the ball back to Tatum. And then the play that drove me crazy, I think, was the end of the first overtime where Brown had it. And then this is something I just harp on all the time. It's like people are so switch happy. And I get that part of the forcing a switch isn't so much the one-on-one matchup. It's forcing a team to make a decision and getting guys moving. I'd say it's to get a mismatch in the post, but nobody throws it to anybody in the post anymore. Phoenix tried it twice today with Ayton late in the game, and they're like, all right, we're not doing that again. It's like, yeah, no shit. That's why you guys don't do it. So I don't think anybody ever, other than Embiid, will be like, okay, let's get a post touch here to do something different. But the Celtics, and I would put this more on the players, is like, why are you running a switch where now Brown ends up with Hart? Like, that's the opposite of what you wanted. You're trying to get him off of Tatum, and now you're the ball handler up top. Granted, Tatum had that kind of layup thing, but it was just so rushed because it was like 3 seconds with the ball left. So I loved what Brown did tonight.
Grant Williams, 44 minutes, 2 for 7, 1 for 5 from 3, 6 rebounds, 44 minutes. And then defensively, they kept putting him those switches. I don't get the lineups. And the thing that really scares me about the Celtics for the spring is that I don't know who they think the best 5-man lineup is, but it's always these lineups with size, which I think slows them down. And I don't like when they play slower. And I'm worried about, like Milwaukee, you saw them have, and I want to talk about that Milwaukee-Philly game, but you saw them have trouble with that weird lineup that Philly had because PJ Tucker was hurt and Harris was hurt. And all of a sudden, Philly had that goofy lineup. They put up 48 points. Milwaukee's a little bit bigger. Like they just had trouble matching up with it. And that's what I'm not seeing from the Celtics team. I'm not seeing like innovation during games where it's like, oh, let me try this. Let me see if this works. Let me go a little smaller here. I just don't see it. And I've been watching all season. I've been waiting for the light bulb to go off, and I just don't feel like this team is well coached. I don't think they're badly coached, but I don't think they're well coached.
Okay, but he did have less
about it.
He had less options tonight. You know, you don't have Brogdon, who, you know, some people would have 6 man of the year, although I think quickly he's going to get a massive bump now.
I think so.
What happened? So, you know, as soon as you start saying that you didn't have Rob Williams or you didn't have Brogdon, I mean, you didn't have Brunson, who's been the best player this season for that team. So it's not really a good excuse. So,
is it more surprising when you don't have Rob Williams or when you do?
I mean, I think it's surprising when you have them for a long stretch. Like the starting five that they want to have with Horford, Williams, Tatum, Brown, and Smart hasn't played much.
My dad texted me during the game the other night, and he was like, Rob just went to the locker room. Go figure. So I think durability is a skill, which we've talked about before. And Rob can't stay in the court. And I don't know what it is, but just over and over again, isn't able to do it.